Hello, everybody, and welcome to another My Music. Today, I'm going to be speaking to Erich, all the way from
Chicago.
Chicago. You got to say it like that. Like, I mean, we know Chicago over here for pizza.
It's true. Yeah, we have the best in the world.
We'll fight about it. You have the best in the world, and then we have it in our freezer sections in our supermarkets, a ruined version of probably what you eat over there. But there you go. We will be speaking to him about Push Puppets. We'll find out about the amazing album straight after this.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Thanks so much for joining me. The sharks in the water references, because you have a shark on the cover of this with a little. What's the other fish called? Do you know what the other fish is called?
I don't know if there's a more official name. It's like a pilot fish, because sharks are like nearsighted, so the pilot fish helps them, find stuff, and they live off the scraps.
Exactly, and hence the title Tethered Together. So there's this thing about people needing each other, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that definitely seemed like a common theme here. That the line "Tethered Together" comes from launching a satellite. But like All Together on Three definitely has that sort of sentiment in it, and there's a lot of that kind of thing going on.
And this is, for anyone who doesn't know your music, this is a big sounding album, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for the Roy Thomas Baker style productions, the Cars and Queen and all that kind of stuff. So, and things like XTC, where you're not limited by the few musicians in your band. If you imagine something, you can make it happen. So that's what I like to do, and just not to limit what the songs can do, and just try to let them reach their potential.
Yeah, and the other really sort of outstanding feature here is the voice. Yeah, that they're making the voice and the voices on this really stand out. What do you do to get the production on that as clear as you get it?
Well, I mean, there's a couple people that deserve some credit for that. On this album, we brought in Steve Frisby to do backup vocals. And I don't know if you know Steve. He's just an immensely talented guy. His band Frisby is awesome. His other band, The Diff, is super cool. And he's just a great guy. So, and just having that higher voice, because my voice is generally kind of low, and I tend to try to push the upper parts of it. So I'm like 2 albums ago, I was doing all the vocals myself, and there was still a wall of vocals on that thing. But this time, just knowing that Steve was there to kind of cover the high things, like knowing that while I was writing was awesome. So that like there would be this melody line that I wanted, and I'd realize it's a little out of my range. So I'm like, okay, Steve's going to be able to take that one, and I'll do this one. Cool. And then like when I had Steve here, so we. Most of the backup vocals we recorded in my basement. Some of it we recorded in Chicago at Gravity Studios with Doug McBride. We for like Shake It Like You Mean It, I think there's like 12 of Steve on those choruses. There's so there's a lot of him, just filling stuff out throughout the record. He did a great job. And Doug McBride, at Gravity Studios, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's worked with some incredible people with like Silversun Pickups, Smashing Pumpkins, Veruca Salt, and we're similar age and just have similar tastes. We see totally eye to eye, so it's just fun working with Doug, bouncing ideas off of each other. We get each other. We're big Dukes of Stratosphere fans and that kind of stuff, and Jellyfish, that kind of thing.
Oh. Now you see, now you're talking. Jellyfish.
And wait till the next album. The next album is going to be going even heavier in that direction, I think.
What in the Jellyfish direction?
Jellyfish, and just kind of like a little. There's one song in particular that's going to be a single. I have a feeling that's a glam rocker kind of thing.
That
is yes.
I'm gonna tell you now, that album Belly Button by Jellyfish, that was my revision album for.
It's so fun. I kind of prefer spilt milk, just because it's heavier, but I do appreciate the bubble gum of Belly Button, and there's some of that certainly on spilt milk too.
Yeah. About the lyrics though, very, very clever lyrics on that. And you just felt like and I got to see them live during that
Me
era
too.
as well.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, standing at the front of the stage playing your drums, standing up, that's a cool thing to do by anyone.
And nailing the shit out of it,
Yeah. But what you've got in there is, and there is that heavier element, but you've got a pop sensibility to this, but you've got that emotional intelligence, which is missing so much from a lot of pop these days. And Sting will be very proud of you as well. You include middle eights,
I thought you were going to say that I have like some pretentious literary references.
No. But you give pause in the song for a resolution, if you know what I mean. Or for the song not to just go round in a circle, which is what he was talking about.
And to bring it back to Jellyfish, there's a buddy of mine. We when we were younger, and still when we get together, if we're just knocking out some cover songs, we would play I Want to Stay Home, and
I want to stay home.
And it has the most beautiful bridge in it. The bridge is the best part of the song. So we have to play it twice just because it's that good. Yeah. And that's kind of the mindset I was in with Altogether on 3, because I loved that bridge section. So I kind of had to revisit it at the end as the outro, just to milk it for all it's worth.
But there's also, I mean, I think it was on the sort of PR sheet as a comparison, but it is there as well. The probably my favorite era of Crowded House as well. The sort of Distant Sun era and whatever. Brilliant. You've got that kind of slightly dark undertones at times, but with enough positive light shining through as well. Within the music that this isn't The Cure. That sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I just gonna say? Never mind. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. So is that all the music you enjoy yourself? Is that or what does?
Well, I mean, I think my tastes. I think my tastes are pretty broad. So I think the stuff that makes up my tastes are one part power pop, bubblegum, that sort of stuff, Cheap Trick, Jellyfish, XTC, that kind of stuff. Well, XTC I think is a bigger fish though. That they span quirky, fun stuff to very intelligent, beautiful things. Yeah. But then I also like things like Gillian Welch and prog rock. I'm a big fan of Mahavishnu Orchestra. It's kind of one of my favorite things to jam to. Just kind of put it on and just let loose.
Yeah. So,
and King Crimson.
You like to be a complex musician at times, but you also understand pop. That's what you're saying to me there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Try to give somebody a little bit of meat, on the bone, so it's not just all sugary.
You want the listener to come back more than once. That's the thing, and that's kind of key in this world these days.
Yeah,
What
it's a challenge these days to get people to take the time to listen.
Let's go back to the title and also, you know, the sort of substance of these songs. When did you write them? Why did you write them?
Almost all of the songs were brand new for this record. I should mention 2 of the songs were re-recorded songs that had been released before. That was Launching a Satellite and Similar. It's just, you know, I wanted to capture the musicians involved and, you know, the production process that we got and stuff. And I'm totally glad I did. You know, I think those 2 came out pretty incredible. So everything else, I mean, there's much more than was written than, you know, came on the album, because we were pushing the limits of what could appear on vinyl. And I do plan to do vinyl as soon as I save a few more dollars. So, you know, the writing probably took place. I mean, the writing was beginning as Allegory Gray, the album before it, was being completed. So I remember being at Gravity Studios, you know, doing like vocals, I think it was, or, you know, maybe recording strings or something like that. And like Hearts Aren't Souvenirs was already evolving. Yeah, I think that was the first one written for this album. And, you know, and you could kind of tell from the selections on this album, you know, that, you know, diversity of, you know, taste that I was kind of talking about. I kind of knew when I put it out that it's very possible that the person that really likes Launching a Satellite might not like Hearts Are Fragile, you know. But I kind of figured, you know, I like it all. I believe in all of it. I think it was, you know, realized to its potential. And so I'm kind of just throwing everything at the wall and see what sticks. And, you know, and I like diversity. So, you know, or, you know, variation.
So that's when these songs were written, and kind of how, but why did you write them?
Why? I mean, it's just kind of because I have to, you know. I like, it's kind of, I don't really have much of a life, so, you know, I spend my time writing songs. So,
can I ask you, as a songwriter, when you say that, and I don't completely believe you, right? Because if you didn't have any kind of life, how would you be writing songs, right? So yeah, there must be some life there for you to write songs about. Otherwise, you know, hey, we all go down the AI route, right? Because, you know, AI may have more life than we do, if that were the case. So I'm pushing you a little bit on sort of the emotional side of things here, but
well, I mean,
why
at the time that this album, when this was being written, I was going through a breakup of, like, you know, somebody I dated for several years. You know, so I think that's kind of where Hearts Aren't Souvenirs is coming from. I think it's kind of where Hearts Aren't Fragile is coming from. Altogether on 3, I always kind of looked at as some little piece of magic. You know, I just kind of, you know, was driving in the car and kind of came up with that first verse. You know, and that's the way I like to write, is, you know, when I'm away from an instrument, so I don't just fall back onto patterns and comfortable things. You know, it's like when I love it when it starts with a line, you know, a lyric, so that, you know, it's not just a pattern and a melody that you're just, you know, mumbling over to make something happen. I like when it starts with meaning. You know, I don't always have that luxury, but this one, I pretty much, you know, that first verse pretty much set the stage for what it needs to be. You know, so
yeah.
You know, each verse.
How do you make that happen when you're driving now? Like I, at my old age, would struggle if I you know what would happen? I'd come up with this great line or this great verse in my head, and I'd sing it several times over, and then I'd get distracted by something that's happening on the road, and then I'd go, oh, completely forgotten that now.
Totally, yeah.
So do you have to stop? Do you have to write it down on a napkin?
Well, see, what I'll do is, if I'm getting inspired, I'll disconnect my phone from Bluetooth so that it can actually record voice memos on it while connected to the car, you know, in the car. And so I use voice memos and text notes on my phone like crazy, and I've gotten good, I think, at not only capturing the moment, but immediately giving it a name and logging it. So I have a log of songs for the next album that is probably like 250 ideas or something like that. It's a crazy number of ideas. And some of them are just a line, with a melody or something like that. Some are more developed than that. Most of them are garbage. But yes. So, and I do go through them. I keep just like reordering it and just, putting the, go, if I find something low on the list that's really good, I'll move it up and start working on it more. So I think that is one of the most important things about how lately I've been kind of somewhat prolific. The other thing is I never used to be a reader. When I was younger, I was just kind of a dumb guy. I mean, I did okay in school.
Now, listen, are you seriously saying dumb, or are you,
No,
what do you mean by that? Is that you didn't like reading particularly?
I just didn't like reading.
I didn't like reading either. I really physically struggled with reading for a long time. Yeah.
Me too. I did have like, where I'd kind of just be seeing the words and not really getting the meaning and stuff. But like, I don't know why, but like within the last several years, I read like crazy now. It's fluff that I read, like, Reacher books and that kind of stuff. But I kind of find that it just gets things going, and creativity just happens that way.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in that, my friend. I mean, ultimately, I create content daily for myself and for other people, and one of the things that I've said it on here before, but one of the things that people say to me is they say, "Oh, so where do you start with? Where you get a blank page in front of you? It's difficult, and where do you come up with ideas?" And I go, "Do you know what you're doing wrong at the moment? And that's why I questioned you on it earlier. Is that you're just not living, right? Sometimes if you actually stop trying to create content and actually just go and do something, the content will come because
you're so right.
Yeah.
And I find like just doing dishes or shaving or something like that, when I'm not hacking myself like I did yesterday, when we were supposed to do this interview yesterday and I idiotically did not put it on my calendar. So I wake up to my dog barking like crazy to somebody like walking a dog in the neighborhood. So I'm like, thrown out of bed in craziness, and then I check my email, see that I'm missing the interview. So I'm trying to throw myself together, butcher myself shaving. So just want to point out it's not herpes.
Do you know what? I really hope that makes it into a song. That whole situation. It's just got to make it into a song now, Oh dear, oh dear. Hey, look. That whole walking through your life thing has always been there, right? In songwriting. I woke up this morning, it's like, I get up, get out of bed, pull the collar.
Sure.
I mean, it's there, right? So I feel like it will always be that way, that we're inspired just by the littlest things as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And like like my dog was an inspiration on one of the songs. The song Probably. I had a basset hound that died that meant the world to me, and so maybe it's a little bit sweeter of a song than I might typically do, but I think it's acceptable because it's about my dog.
Yeah,
I think it gives me a little bit of an out.
Do you feel like this album will relate to across people of different generations, etc., or do you feel like at this stage in life this will relate more to people your own age, or do you not worry about that? Well,
I don't worry about it. Ultimately, I'm going to make music that I like. and just hope that people like it. I am, getting a pretty broad amount of appeal, I'm sensing that. But, I do think it is probably more people that are closer to my age that get it, that just, grew up with certain things, 10cc, things we do for love and stuff like that. That was part of my growing up. And I love the complexity of that kind of thing where, on the surface, it doesn't necessarily seem that way, but, there's just a lot behind the scenes. So, that's where I'm coming from. If it doesn't appeal to everybody, so be it. But, I certainly hope that it has broad appeal because I think it.
I'm sure it will. On the other hand, I feel like, do you know what? I interview people in all different age ranges on here now, and I, in some respects, think that actually, when you get to a certain age and you are writing about your experiences from a certain age and whatever, it's quite it's important, and it's also probably more important these days because there's possibly more music being made by young people or that's out there and accessible these days, and actually a lot of it we haven't got a Scooby-Doo's what they're on about. So, yeah, right. I mean, like, honest to goodness, and I'm not dissing any of that kind of music, but there is some music that I listen to. Well, there's some music I'm not meant to listen to as well, right? Because my daughter reminds me of that all of the time. She says, "Dad, you're just not cool enough to listen to this music," right? And that's always been the case, but possibly even more so now. And even to the point where, like, some of the language and some of the words that are being used and the things that are being talked about, you'd have to read the dictionary of youth to know what on earth that is going on about, Yeah. So I feel like actually music being made by people of a certain age is probably actually more accessible because it's probably talking about things we are either going through or will go through. But also it's important that everybody has a music that they can relate to, I think that's important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I mean, it's such a weird time with music right now because there's, so much of it. There's tons of great stuff out there, but there's just a monstrous amount of horrendous stuff in life.
Yeah, we won't say today what's bad and what's good. I mean, that's up for you to decide out there, listeners. And everybody's got their thoughts on that. What are you most pleased about in terms of the overall production on this album? And I have to say the production is fantastic. So well done.
Thank you. I think the strings. This is the first album that I had real strings. So there's a real string quartet on 8 of the 10 songs, and they're amazing players. They play with Smokey Robinson and Herbie Hancock and that kind of thing. So arranging the strings where I always have lots of guitar ideas. I'm always putting probably more than I should on guitar, and giving the mixing engineer a lot to deal with. But so for this one, I kind of took some of the ideas that ordinarily would go to guitar, put those on strings, and I think the string arrangements, in my opinion, are not your typical thing either. It's not just a filler, make the sound bigger kind of thing. It takes you in different places, I think.
Yeah.
Especially, my favorite two, I think, are Launching a Satellite. I love the last minute of that, where there's the string quartet and the electric guitar interplay, and the outro of All Together on 3. I think is just cool. The whole kitchen sink kind of comes in there with the harpsichord and the strings, and
I agree. I mean, I think that's where the sort of element of more psychedelic stroke prog type rock comes in, doesn't it? Where you're actually taking people off into a, not only taking people off into a different world, but you also, melodically making people think a little bit more as well. Whereas, as you say, sometimes strings can literally just be used to broaden the sound, and you think you could almost have done that with a keyboard.
Totally. Yeah. What was I going to say about the strings? And that outro part of All Together on 3. One thing I love about it, I mean, it's probably my proudest section of the entire album, is I don't think people realize that the vocal phrase is a different length than the backing track, so that every time that phrase comes around, it's going over a different portion of the pattern. So I just think it's something that, because it's kind of handled gracefully and the strings kind of cover it in a way. And I'm just proud that came out so smooth that people don't even notice it.
No,
I know it's there.
It's beautiful. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming and talking a little bit.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invite. It's a pleasure to meet you.
And I'm sorry that we caused you to cut your face yesterday. I mean, we do not condone violence. This program, and neither do we like it happening. But no, thank you so much. So the album is called Tethered Together. It's Push Puppets. And where can people get this?
Pushpuppets.net or Bandcamp.
The wonderful Bandcamp, which of course we're massive fans of on this program, because some of the money actually gets to the artist, which is a fantastic thing, especially on Bandcamp Friday, which if you actually subscribe to Bandcamp, you get to hear about via emails. So do that on those days. Artists get more of the royalties. It's just a wonderful thing. We will be back soon with more of my music, but until then, from Erich and myself, thanks for listening. If you have enjoyed this conversation, please do go and share it with your friends and family. Till next time, from Erich and me, bye for now.